This is the video for lesson 1.1. This was more an introduction lesson, so if people weren't in the lesson, there's no particular assignment that goes with this lesson, but I did just want to talk through some of the slides that are in here so people can see kind of what they missed a little bit. So I'm Mr. Bagshaw. I've been teaching Algebra 1 for nearly 30 years, a lot of time at Potomac, nearly 20 years, and that's, I think, enough for me at this point. We also talked about things that were in the student handbook. If you are absent, I would definitely recommend reading through that document just to make sure that you are familiar with anything that you need to be aware of. Now, we did an activity about the Olympics. We talked about what characteristics do you think makes a good Olympian? Now, we're obviously not going to do that if you're not in class. We also talked about what characteristics do you think are important for somebody who is good at math? And we found that there's some parallels. One of the things that we said were important was giving good effort, listening to your coach or listening to your teacher, perhaps. And the emphasis really was to show that even if you don't think you're good at math, things that can make you good at math aren't necessarily that mathematics background. It's more about asking questions, it's trying, it's good listening, focus, completing assignments on time, staying after to get help if you need to. All things that don't rely on you necessarily being good at mathematics, but rely on your effort. So it was really to emphasize that even if you haven't been successful before in class, you certainly can this year, but make sure you use all the opportunities that are available to you. And then this is just a few basic things. We talked about why we don't use cell phones anymore, the fact that it is a distraction. We do remind in the first few weeks to put them away, but this is a zero tolerance policy right now. So make sure you put those things away right at the start of class. Don't get them out. Certainly use them after school, but during class, we want you to stay focused. We want to make sure with the earbuds as well that you're hearing everything I'm saying clearly. And when you're hearing another song, another voice, that's obviously more difficult to do so. The reason Algebra 1 is really important specifically is the difference between middle school and high school is that in middle school, if you don't pass perhaps sixth grade math, you'll probably still move on to seventh grade. And the same with if you don't pass seventh grade math, you're probably still going to move on to eighth grade. That does not apply for Algebra 1. If you do not pass Algebra 1, you have to repeat the Algebra 1 class. You need 3 math classes to graduate for a standard diploma. So there is a little bit of wiggle room there, but if you fail more than one class, then it could jeopardize you graduating on time. So the aim for this class really is to make sure that you pass the class, but also to pass the SOL. You only need 1 math SOL to graduate to meet the math requirement. So we're hoping that it'll be this year. Here are some of the classes that we have in the high school. So obviously we're at Algebra 1 right now. Some people are coming in from a class called Algebra 1 Part 1. But then from here, we're kind of looking mainly at these 3 classes here. People who are looking for a standard diploma, that's probably going to be the 3 that you're looking for. If things go really well, perhaps we'll move on to geometry, and possibly even Algebra 2. For people who are very successful with high A's, we'll be looking to move you on to our advanced program, the IGSI program. And then possibly, if this is your freshman year, year 10, year 11, year 12, you might even reach the calculus class where you can actually receive college credit as well. There are also AP classes. And there's also a class called data science, which I don't know much about, but that would certainly be a question for your guidance counselor if that's something that sounds interesting to you. Things that we'll be learning this year, I'm certainly not going to read them to you. You can pause the video if you want to. This is the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter is obviously very short, just by the fact that we have to review for the SOL, and we take the SOL in early May normally. So that's really our main focus for that final quarter. Summatives are 80% and formatives are 20%, but really the 20% is the important one as far as I'm concerned. If you do your homework, do your classwork, you're ready for the tests, and those tests will be much easier. If you haven't practiced these assignments, then it will make the test very difficult indeed. If you have to take my final exam, it's worth 10%. If you do not have to take the final exam because you either had an A average or you passed the SOL this year, then each semester will be worth 50%. Importantly, there is a retake on all tests, but just one. And to qualify for a retest, you have to have all the formatives completed, and you also have to do a short remediation exercise, just so I can give any feedback before you take the retest to make sure that you really are ready for that retest. Things to do to get help. Certainly use the videos in Canvas, like this YouTube video right now. Try and find a friend. It's always better to work as a two than it is to work as a one or more. Try doing an assignment on the first night. You might be able to come and ask a quick question in the morning if you can find me in the hallways. Normally, I'm out there doing duty. Hey, Mr. Bagshaw, can you show me this question? Wasn't quite sure where to start. And then you can always try it for the next day and be ready. There is after-school tutoring, but you'll have to talk to me individually. Look at my sign in my room. I'm not always available every Tuesday and Thursday, and sometimes I'm only available until 3 o'clock. So that will definitely vary for sure. Inside class, definitely ask table mates. I deliberately do not have single desks like you can see here. I have groups of 4, so you can definitely help each other. Definitely reread the notes from our lessons. That can be a good idea as well. But importantly, ask the teacher as well. That's the reason we're here. When you're not sure, ask us. We can explain it again, and we can give you that help that you need. The most important thing really is this thing here. You need the laptop. We're going to be using Desmos a lot, and you need to bring the charger that goes with it as well. You will need some paper. You will need a binder, and obviously something to write with as well. There will be times when we've got to solve an equation or just show a little bit of steps, so that will be important. Graph paper, don't worry about. We don't use very often, and if we do, I'll provide it to you. But a lot of the times when we're graphing now, we're actually going to be using the Desmos calculator. It's much quicker to do that, and it's also much accurate, more accurate, and I can see your results much quicker as well. And the binder really is just to store worksheets when you have those, so you know where they are and you can find them easily. So that was really just the slides I skipped, just talk about things that happen in class, how you go to the bathroom, what happens in the event of drill. And obviously we'll talk about those in class when we practice those as well. So I'm going to move on at that point. Now, I do have one short thing here that we talk about in class. Rather than asking individuals one question, sometimes I just want to find out very quickly if you understand. So I'll ask you to show me the answer on your hands. Rather than shouting out an answer when everyone can hear, this gives you a little time to think. So I can acknowledge people with a thumbs up if they're correct or a thumbs down if they're wrong. So for example, if it's 3 plus 1, you just got to show me 4, all pretty straightforward. If we have questions with negative numbers, you can show me those as well. And sometimes it's the correct way around, and sometimes it's the wrong way around. I'm looking for understanding. I know which one each of those are. 1/2 as a decimal is 0.5. So normally people just show me like a fist and then 5 or that way around, and that will work perfectly well for that. I'll try to make sure I don't ask questions like 0.7 because that's obviously very difficult to do. 1/2 plus 1/4 is 3/4. So normally people try and use their pinky to make the denominator. I'm not worried about that. I'm looking for the top number to be 3, bottom number to be 4, and you kind of just put one hand above another, and then I can see. One of our first topics will be slope, so we'll definitely be answering questions that have fractions. 2 times 7 for 14. Some people flash me a 10 and then a 4, and then some people will just show me 1 and 4, or you might have to do it the other way around, but that's how you can show me an answer with 2 digits, perhaps. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Please make sure I can see the palm of your hand if you're answering 2. If you show it the other way around, that's actually an offensive gesture to English people. So if you can remember, I would appreciate it. Or if you can't remember, students will just show me this, or they'll show me this, or they'll show me some combination of whatever it is. But if I can see the palm of your hand, then you're good. And that's really the lesson. If we had any time left, we would have a quick look at a graph, would do a little data chat. But most years, that's as far as we get. And then once we come back in properly for lesson 1.2, that's when we get into that information. So if you're absent, hopefully that will help you just to find out a little bit about what the class is like, and you could get a better idea of what to expect.